Alright, and with the last straw, that is the conclusion of the entire semi-final match at hand. On to see the end results of what will happen with Furious and Nemesis Incorporated. And to all of the people involved with the Forgotten Legion and Terrain Adaptive Combat Terrestrials, I offer a complete good game. All the same.
You and I till the end, don't need to pretend again and again. We'll stick together, everything is alright with you by my side. We won't say goodbye, we'll stick together. I can pick you up when you're heading down. When it all just sucks, I'll be your Charlie Brown. You can make me laugh when I wanna cry. In a world gone mad, we're on an all-time high, and it wouldn't be the same without you. We have yet so many stupid things to do. You're the only thing I'm holding on to. Anywhere and anything, I'll be there. You and I till the end, don't need to pretend again and again. We'll stick together, everything is alright with you by my side. We won't say goodbye, we'll stick together.
Alright, there's another historic match down in the record books for our group, as T.A.C.T was able to effectively and successfully show exactly what brought us to the dance of the Final Four of 2017. And T.A.C.T, I'm proud of you all. You were able to show T.F.L, Nemesis, Furious, and the entire CBL thing exactly what makes us who we are and what we've been all this time. And in a long-term sense, how successful or continually successful that T.A.C.T may become if we continue to buckle down and keep at it like what we were doing here amidst the battle in tow, which I will presently review. So, let me get myself something to drink here. Now, starting into when this clan battle date was originally set, which was set for December 2nd of 2017, even though the clan battle itself actually happened on the 9th, that following week. There were factors in real life pending that had forced us to try and move the date back to another time. There were a couple people that did want us to go on ahead and try to have the clan battle on said date at said appointed time. The problem is that I personally could not be there for those times as something else IRL, which could not honestly wait. It could wait, but it couldn't wait since the person had requested me to be there, which means that I would have to take an opportunity and or a potential gamble in having another person see to my affairs for this clan battle. A couple of people in T.A.C.T had significantly strongly urged that I not settle upon that particular gamble, as this was a highly imperative clan battle that we did need to see to, with whom we had that was available to honestly make it. Joey had made this request to me in saying that you should probably definitely spearhead this for the entirety of it all. And Red Primus and Moonwalker had both agreed to this, and so I definitely needed to find a way where a date can be met, or a date can be settled with our camp and their camp, so we can try and set this up accordingly where I can dedicate the majority or the totality of my time to making sure that this clan battle can go off as effectively as possible. Said representatives from the T.F.L camp that were representing them when we were setting this up It's unavailable. Anyway, the said representatives from T.F.L's side that were there to help me coordinate this outline was Tofu and Aswin. And eventually, rather than settling upon a possible shifty continuation for the following Saturday of the same time meeting, which would be around 2 or 3 p.m. Eastern time in the afternoon, we were able to jump shift this to a Saturday, respectively, from a Saturday to a Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, which would be an earlier block, but it would also be a more accommodating block for a lot of the people on their side, and a decently agreeable or time agreeable slot for my team in which some of them could be there. There were a couple of them that could have had the fat chance of being there, but they didn't want to. Hands down, there were a couple people that could have been there that could have made the difference, but they chose not to do it because they didn't like the outline, or they just don't like playing the PS3 version, and so I'm not going to sit there and force them, even though they could have honestly vastly made a difference. And so they have their reasons for why they didn't show up, which I guess I have to respect. And those that did show up who had a vast amount of difficulty in playing in the match on a couple of different levels, and I can understand how that is and why that is. And we'll get to that as I go into explanation of each of the parts that went into this. Okay, let's start with the Capture the Flag, which was the opener for the whole entirety of the semifinal things. This was T.F.L's host. This was T.A.C.T map pick. They went on ahead and picked, I believe, Corrosion was the map for that one, the wide open map internally. For that one, the host for that one I think was decent. I didn't feel that it was that laggy. My friends thought it was laggy, and a couple of people on their side thought it was laggy. The only thing I had about that one, I guess, would be the launch into it, where it felt more like it was a 5 versus 6, but then one of their persons did stand down for a set time until my said 6th person could join the match. They were already in the match. This was Blitzwing, or 1957, because he had randomly went AFK right as the match had started. And when he went AFK as the match had started, I worried because we were down a man right at the get-go, which kind of had my plan fall through right at the get-go, which could not be avoided, and so I just had to adjust, which is why another one of the reasons why I'm thankful that I did compose several different gameplay layouts that we could utilize throughout the entirety of Capture the Flag and Conquest alone. So I had 4 initial plans, and then I also had 4 to 5 backup plans, just in case there was a chance that something else may have happened amidst the clan battle, as it did at several points, and these points I will go into as we're going along. Aswin had noticed that 1957 went AFK about a minute or so into the match. I did pick a dumb time to kind of go ahead and text, and I did get myself needlessly shot at a really inconvenient time, but that's my fault, because I wasn't paying attention to where I was standing when A77 just happened to come right over top of me and kill me automatically, and then get the flag in the process. I didn't have any other reason in order to try and reach him, as I did try to click back over to PS4 during that brief second when I typed it in the chat. I clicked my splitter box in order to pop back to PS4 and pop it in PS4 TAC chat, that I am going to need another hand or another person's help that's going to be here just in case, because this is a we started out as a 6v6, and so I couldn't actually get another person in here other than potentially Hotshot or Joey, and Joey was already there, or on his way, and then was already there when we started into the Capture the Flag. Hotshot Prime I originally did have as the flag runner because Capture the Flag is what he does best. I put him in for the totality of all of the KOA clan battles that we used to have back when KOA was around, and he would get the flag every single time. So him being in this match was no less than a mandatory, because Capture the Flag is what he does best. but he went AFK right at the get-go of it, and so while I did spam him in order to try and get him into the match, I mean, life is as it'll happen, and so the match did have to go on, in a sense, because it put me in a position where I had to make a call, and I had to pop in a substitute to take his place in order to make this work for a 6v6. And so for that substitute, that one had to be, I believe, Noah at that time, that I popped in as a substitute for that in order to take the place, because Marcus the Junior from WFC did want to take part in this, as it was his very first clan battle playing for T.A.C.T, in actual totality of T.A.C.T, because he was supposed to take place in the WFC and TSF, the Special Forces clan battle that we had on WFC a couple of months back, but he wasn't able to make it for that one, but he was able to make it to this one. And so, excuse me, I went on ahead and put him into the match. Also, in addition to this, this was also Red Primus, or T.A.C.T Primus 24, the son of Atticus. This is Red Primus' second clan battle in the entirety of T.A.C.T, as his very first clan battle with us was when we fought the WCW, or the fake WCW, as the game facts in particulars wish to clarify it as such, but I'm going to still say it's new WCW, so I'm not going to let you take away the joy because of a technicality based off of a difference in perspective that could easily come from a mutual understanding. Said fake WCW then eventually became what is CAP, or the Cyber Alphonic Plague. Oy, that name. Anyway, this was Red Primus' second clan battle, in which, for this one, he also went to his specialty, which is the medic role, or a scientist role, which he does very, very, very well. So Apex, you did good in showing him exactly what it is he needs to do to get the job done, as he was able to successfully get the job done as the medic for Capture the Flag. Fast forward to about halfway into the match, past halfway, about a quarter to the match's conclusion, there was another lag spike, or something that had happened on their host, whomever was the host for their end on Capture the Flag, that led to one of my guys as well as Aswin both lagging out of the match respectively. And so in order to quickly compensate, in order to lack up for the one man down, I saw they did try to include or incorporate another one of their members to instantly come back in at that time. And so I did the same by sending the invite respectively to Hotshot and Joey, in order to have them come as immediately as they can, in order to try and see if this is salvageable. Predominantly Hotshot, since Hotshot I did originally promise a position in Capture the Flag no matter what. And it did hurt me that I have to go back on my ward in order to continue with the match's progressions, but it was a choice that I did have to make, and I gotta live with it. And so after that, I did decide, in order to keep Hotshot along for the rest of the clan battle, as a secondary scientist or scout predominant, however it is that he would like to go. That way he can try and sneakily, shadily get in all those kills where you can. Just come in out of nowhere and get those kills. Long story short, as long as Capture the Flag it actually was considerably and excessively decisive, as it was a complete 0-10 loss in T.F.L's favor. So, I mean, it can't get too much more thorough than that. Next here was the round 2 outline, which was for Conquest mode. This was their map pick, Abandon, T.A.C.T host. The host for this one, respectively, was Newman 30, which I could see how this could have led to a rather uniquely controversial conclusion based off of the general connectivity to said host, which I did not completely foresee until we finally got to the end. For you see, connection-relevant issues were a huge driving force in Conquest's series of events. The majority of the clan battle was fought back and forth with lag, as it was seen a lot on both sides. You could even see in the footage that I captured that there was going to be a laggy outline to this, but it was a lot laggier than the footage actually had picked up. This was easily the most trying of all 4 game modes that were presented. Only one audio glitch, I believe, had happened, where I wasn't able to talk or speak directly with Walker, because he can hear me through the TV, but I can't hear him because he doesn't have a mic for PS3. He has a mic for PlayStation 4, but not PS3. A series of disconnections had happened back and forth through the Conquest match, which at one point led to it being an unbalanced number between both parties, where it was a 4v5, a 6 versus 6, and then from there it dwindled back and forth depending upon connection relevance, and then became a 4 versus 4 minimal or 5v4 at the conclusion. But it wasn't them lagging out of the match. It wasn't from them disconnecting from the match, but lagging out of the match and then lagging back in. There was a point where at the end and conclusion of Conquest mode, there was an issue about whether or not to restart or redo that session, as OG and Ash and Joey on our end had want to push the issue of strongly suggesting a redo or a do-over of the Conquest session. I had to stop and think about that for a second while we were going through here, and I can explain why me and Aswin both settled on the decision of not redoing and restarting that session. So, consider this. With the amount of people that we had in the match that first started out as a 6 versus 6 and then was dwindled down into a 5 versus 5, and the number of people that were involved in said match or matches that were already having questionable or not completely stable connectivity into the one person's hosts. Because when you go to log into somebody else's server, what it is going to happen is that it's like a slice of a pie, and each time someone loads into a match, it's like you're getting a slice of that one pie. Maximum people that can go in here is 6 per team, or a total of 12 people, and that's 12 different types of connections that are going to be trying to settle in on the one hosting connection. Now, when that happens, a match can potentially become a lot more unstable the more people there are on a host, unless the host has a decent or pretty good stable net already as a given. That's not always common. Here in this match, it's not that common either. But it can be addressed or taken into consideration when entering into the match and how you wish to set this up. Considering that the 1 or 2 people that they had could not set up the match or did not wish to set up the match, then this would go towards trying to make do or make the best of what is given. In taking to heart wanting to do the redo, this would be our host again. It would be a different person that would be able to connect in, and I know that without a doubt there's easily 1 or 2 possible people on T.F.L's side that cannot connect to my host or possibly Moonwalker's host. I say mine predominantly because in most of these situations people usually do rely on my host, as my connections seem to be of a very uniquely stable and crisp NAT type most of the time. Next, point 2, which is also in tow of the point here, is that I would be lacking manpower, because at the end of this match 1957 did log out completely out of nowhere, and so I had to automatically call forth somebody else to try to hurry and take his place in order to try and compensate for time and see if we could make a comeback with what time we had to work with, which could not work since he had logged out of the match before the match had finished. Although, as decisive as it already was, we were peaking at 200-ish against theirs just about to peak at 500 for the point cap. There wouldn't have been any strong chance of us making any vast comeback where we could pull a triple cap and hold it for the entirety of the rest of the match and just happen to make a comeback. The chances of that is vastly slim. And the chances of me finding somebody else that can successfully take his place as the fifth person, or the fifth person for that specific role that can execute it to that level of proficiency, if not better, is also vastly harder on our end because everybody else is not here. Who is there right now in the match is the people that cared to be here, or that could honestly make time to be here, or that were aware of it, or was aware of this from the very beginning and isn't just scrolling through TAC chat, not giving a damn about the updates and things that are happening that are relevant to Clan T.A.C.T right now, or you just happen to conveniently not have an absent-minded moment where you don't act like sheep and just suddenly appear, oh, wait a minute, this is happening today? Yeah, it's happening right now, and I did need your help, but hey, it happens. And so, controversially speaking, it was a decision that we both did settle upon right there because we went ahead and tried to briefly discuss it on Facebook while we were going along in order to go over who was signed in and who logged out or who lagged out at what times. Because he wanted to say that at that point that one of his guys had lagged out or they were at a disadvantage the entire time. I told him that I don't strongly believe that that was the case, that you guys were at a disadvantage the entire time. While yes, lag did persist and insist on this round and throughout the totality of this session, I don't think that the connection stability for said person affected them that much to where they were lagged out or disconnected the entire time, as I did make an effort in order to check the leaderboards every couple of minutes or so whenever I could to see if everybody was successfully loaded in or had loaded into the match with each session, because there's always a chance something can change. Now, interestingly enough, that may support Aswin's argument in this. There was a point during Conquest mode where one of his persons and one of my people did lag out, or one of his persons did lag out, which put them at a disadvantage. But I wasn't able to make the call at that time in order to successfully try and have one of my guys sit out, unless one of them already did sit out and I didn't see it anywhere. I noticed for a portion of the clan battle that yes, they were unfortunately at a disadvantage at a 4-5 in T.A.C.'s favor, which is how we were able to run the board back in our favor for a small amount of time. When I go to think about it, that is how momentum was able to shift back in our favor, was because lag had temporarily worked in our favor. Just as the match went and continued, lag worked out of our favor and worked into their favor further, thus allowing them to successfully sustain the lead and eventually just out of nowhere just cap it off and win. And so, having tried to realize that, I realized that Aswin's argument in this was not completely valid, but it is justifiable, because the lag did vastly affect both sides to where it was barely playable, but it was still enough to have an official sense of judgment on this. Taking that in balance with the pending probability of, if said redo did transpire, then the redo would likely happen in full with a 6 versus 6, which neither he can do nor I can do. Yeah, granted, yeah, I'm sure he could probably call somebody up on either Facebook or Skype, Discord, Twitch, however it may be, that may be able to be there, but for that specific time setting that was shifted and altered for a huge amount of people to be there from their side, as their side does predominantly come from a differing time zone, it would continue down the road of a further inconvenience. And so, with that fact, in addition to the fact of us missing one as a given, the continuation of the clan battle as a 5 versus 5 made more sense. And so, in summarization, Aswin's argument is not fully factual, but it is completely justifiable, and I can agree with it to a very huge extent. And so, that as the underlining sense and how the call was made, we decided that we will not seek a redo or a restart of the conquest mode, and so the decision of the clan battle would be made right there. Thus, TFL would be winning the clan battle. As much as I know T.A.C.T wanted us to try to continue and do that one more time, you also have to take in tow a lot of elements that come into trying to settle in and redo that entire process all over again. And granted, we can do it, because we've done it before. And heck, we probably could even make the magic happen for all we know. But the fact of the matter is that we lack the opportunity. Well, we have the opportunity. We lack the manpower. And at that point, a couple of you guys lost the honest drive to want to try and follow through with it. Because there were easily 1 or 2 points during the match where you could even say, and you said it yourselves, that even on Newman's host, and Newman even said it himself, on his host, he can still feel lag happen at a number of places. And so that right there insinuated that I need to make the call right now that we don't need to do a redo, because if there's that type of controversy that could come from his host being the one that I will go to as the go-to from my host, that is laggy for everybody, including the host himself, as opposed to anybody else, then we'll just leave it as is and let the match be decided as it naturally will. And like I said, the end result of the clan battle was reached at that checkpoint, as TFL had won the clan battle, with the final score, I believe, being 500 to 234. And so from there we moved on into round 3, which was the first of the 2 team death matches, respectively. Now, to be frank, I honestly had no set game plan set aside for it, aside from maybe having specific people do specific things. And so here, since the match was already decided, I let T.A.C.T itself actually decide what it is they wanted to do or how they wanted to set this up. The lot of them said that they wanted to try and just go commando on it and not have a medic. And I had to stop and question for a second, and I was just like, are you sure? Absolutely sure that you do not want a medic on Team Deathmatch, especially on Desolation? And they were like, yeah, they wanted to try something different out. So I was like, okay. And so for this one, this was on T.A.C.T's host, their map pick. Their map pick was Desolation. T.A.C.T's host was Undermine. That one I went a scout and let that one honestly go. There wasn't really too much I could do positively or negatively in that match in favor of just sniping and trying to brush up on my sniping as best as I could amidst no lag, or hopefully no pending lag, or if so, it would be very little amount of lag as possible. I honestly don't think I was able to get in that many kills or even that many assists, but I did okay for what I was able to do. And that's when I really saw Hotshot Prime take to a huge display of sniping capabilities throughout a good deal of portions of that thing, because I could see him hitting his markers at a number of different points. And there was even a point where he pulled a double snipe out of nowhere, which just happened to change the match's momentum back in our favor. That moment right there changed a huge flow of momentum in the match, which allowed us to try and get some aggression back in our favor. I took advantage of that moment in order to try and see if I can place a shot on Aswin when I was able to, but that failed right away, because I was determined to at least try and get one single shot on Aswin in the face as a scout, and I almost succeeded if it wasn't for that meddling lights out resist eye. The conclusion point for both team deathmatch sessions was reached probably in about 20 minutes, because each team deathmatch unfortunately didn't last but about like maybe 9 or 10 minutes each, which I was hoping for more of a struggle from our end, but a lot of the guys were very, very frustrated in fighting a lot of players that were uh, killing them really easily, and so this was somewhat foreseen, but it is understandable that they did feel a sense of discomfort and uh, just being outmatched and outgunned, in a sense, for lack of a better term. And so the final totality of points was added up. And for those that don't understand, I can also sit here and explain how the point system of the team deathmatch portions do work, and why it is there's two of them specifically. For you see, team deathmatch is usually a 40 to 50 point gap, 50 points in the point tally system add-ups, as a manual given as the first or the final point of an official clan battle agreement or arrangement. Now, in the CBL semifinal outlines, granted, there have been times before where there has been only one with one neutral host. There's one team deathmatch allotted to the clan battle. However, in order to try and add a sense of stability and fairness and equal opportunity with this, there was an outline proposed originally by either Straxus or Danicky, or a past overseer of the GameFAQs point tallying system that is represented to the community in the Clan Battling League. And how it goes as follows is written in the mandate is for both team death matches to happen, Session 1 and Session 2, Session 1 being on the higher tiers host, Session 2 being on the lower tiers host, with the most neutral net respective of each parties, in order to allow a fair advantage and disadvantage to, not a fair advantage and disadvantage, but a fair amount of stability to all the players that are allotted. As what happens in this is the points in full, when the session is done, the points at the end both tally from both teams. That overall result is the real winner of the team deathmatch session in full. So it's not one team deathmatch for one result, it's two team deathmatches combined for the one result, with two different hosts, one respective of both clans, in order to allow fairness. Session 1 of Team Deathmatch was a loss at 50 to 13, and Session 2 was a loss at 50 to 7. So with the general point totality of those two sessions thought up, the final score would be 100 to 20. So it is rather self-explanatory who the winner is of Team Deathmatch in full. And that's all there is to it. In short, if I really thought that there was something that really shouldn't be or should not have been, it would have just been the presence of unstable connectivity. And that's the only point I have to make, and that's point 3, is just the overall standings of how the connection relevance was for this entire proceeding of events for this clan battle. But with time and priority in and out of our favor, then a lot of those unique internal factors could not be helped but so much. And so it is how it is. The issue on my team's end was stressed about being able to learn how to play in lag so it wouldn't be as big of a setback, and so you two will be, the lot of my team will be on the exact mental driving force as where T.F.L is, having fought under the prerequisite standings of the connections relevant to conquest mode. But this was not stressed for some reason, as I made the issue clear that we were likely going to fight on lag, so why the apparent absent-mindedness of practice didn't happen is beyond me, but I mean, it's out of our hands now. So I mean, the time in the tournament was good and sweet while it lasted, but it had to come to an end sooner or later, whether or not it was at the beginning or at the conclusion. For us, unfortunately, we were at the conclusion of it. Sometimes you just get the short end of the stick, you know? At the end of the day, you can only do but so much in order to ensure or see to it that success can be done within reason and fairness. And a winner and a loser was decided here today. And so I look forward to seeing exactly how the conclusions of the semifinals or the final match itself for the championship does ensue. And I will be looking, as will other clan leaders that have taken toe in this proceeding of the CBL. Keeping that in mind, I don't know whether or not connection issues may be relevant to what we've seen here in the future, but we will definitely keep an eye open and our hearts open. So without further ado, this will be T.A.C.T and Rodimus Prime both. Signing off. Y'all have a good one, and as always, till all are one.